Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome back to...
The Summer of Arnold Schwarzenegger!
And you just can't bring up the Conan franchise without at least bringing up Red Sonja. Well, I mean, technically you can, as it's not part of the Conan franchise and Conan isn't in it, but that's not the point. Despite this, Arnold Schwarzenegger still stars as a big, hulking, barbarian-looking motherfucker in The Age of High Adventure. It's said he was brought on for what he was told was a cameo bit, but after 1 week of filming ballooned into 4 and his role was modified in post to be co-star, well, he quickly found his way out of his contract afterward. So technically speaking, this is a movie in the summer of Schwarzenegger that isn't about Schwarzenegger's character, but it's close enough. As the title implies, the story is that of another character, Red Sonja, played by Brigitte Nielsen in her first role. As this is an 80s fantasy movie, you already know the plot. Our hero's family is slaughtered, but that's not really important. The world is threatened because of magic, evil queens, and only the title character has the power to save it! Along with more than a little help from Arnold Schwarzenegger. But it's not like they just dressed Schwarzenegger up in a chainmail bikini and called it a day, at least. Anyway, let's take a look at Red Sonja and see exactly what they did. After a basic opening explaining this is a fantasy movie, which sadly is not a narration by Mako, but instead a dead silent text scroll, we see just how this legend began. She left the stove on? Oh no, there was this whole intro we completely skipped, but don't worry, Ghost Babe is here to tell us what happened. Seems evil Queen Gedren showed up with intent on some scissoring action with Sonja, but she wasn't into the queen, so effed up her face.
Gedren ordered your family murdered. Your body violated by her soldiers.
Really? That sounds like it would have made for one hell of an opening. Or at least markedly better than Ghost Babe just showing up and saying to our main character, hey, you remember that rape that happened 20 minutes ago to you? I'm just here to remind you, in case you forgot. Ghost Babe also points out the obvious. In order for her to have revenge, she needs to be one hell of a fighter.
I give you that strength.
Great, so just skim over her tragic backstory over the course of a couple of seconds and then just hand her the power she needs to get revenge like it's a pack of half-eaten fries. Doing a bang-up job of making sure I care about this character movie. With that, Ghost Babe vanishes, and we never learn who or what in the fuck she even was in the first place. No bother, Sonja has the strength for vengeance, and is now Red Sonja. Arnold Schwarzenegger still got top billing, though. Brigitte Nielsen's relegated tiny-ass, oh yeah, she's in this too text. Either way, we watch as Arnold gallops around for a while before realizing that Bridgie was intent on crossing is busted, so he turns around and goes back the way he came. While he goes in circles, we can skip over to the circular shrine where the custom D20 God rolled up the world with resides. The Talisman. No, not the Genesis Talisman or the Talisman of the Mega Drive, just the Talisman. It's like no one else in this world ever made any talismans. It's just this one, that's the Talisman.
It has become too powerful for us, and we must destroy it before it destroys the world.
But there's no reason to hurry, guys. Let's have this ridiculously long, overly drawn-out ceremony to do it as slowly as possible to make sure we give it every opportunity for shit to go wrong. At least this peculiarly drawn-out, absolutely time-sensitive relic destruction does give them a chance to point out to the audience that this talisman thing is solar-powered, and thus locking it away in eternal darkness is the only way to save the world. Again, this takes way too fucking long. So either they got ambushed or this thing is so drawn out this is actually a halftime show. Whatever the case, the army barges in and begins murdering the fuck out of the priestesses! It actually is not quite as cut and dry as it seems, considering all the women have swords, and if you ask me, it looks like they're winning for quite a while. Until they aren't. Just after a minute they start dying en masse, allowing us to see this was all orchestrated by the evil Queen Gedren, played by Valeria herself, Sandal Bergman.
So this can make worlds, or shatter them by storm and earthquake.
That's like advertising an Easy Bake Oven's risk of burning your fingers off as one of its features. With no priestesses left to stop her from doing whatever she wants with a magical ball of godly superpowers, she calls a servant up for her first order of evil super queen business.
Touch it.
She's a very cautious lady. You always gotta get someone else to touch your balls. Oh dear God, it has the power of jump cuts! The purest evil. Now that that test is done, she brings over an auxiliary servant to try something else.
Touch it.
But this time, just tickle the underside of it. However, this servant is not jump cut into oblivion. This means a bit of godball trivia that they never bothered to bring up until now is proven true.
Only women may touch it.
Yeah, before we jump to any conclusions here, let's see how it reacts to a man's touch after a few pints. Without further ado, the queen packs up the talisman for shipping, and decides to dump the remaining priestesses into the abyss to die a slow, horrifying death. Except, of course, for this one. Varna, played by Janet Argan, she sneaks out the handy-dandy, easily pushed aside giant fucking brick wall, and escapes. Of course, the bad guys notice this and give chase. For a bit, but you know what? Fuck chasing her down. We got crossbows! Fortunately for her, though, the zipline animation seems uninterruptible, which means she reaches the end, falling right into the hands of Arnold Schwarzenegger. After killing her pursuers just as easily as we'd all expect, she spills the beans about how the talisman was stolen, but it must be destroyed!
We must find my sister. Take me. I know where she is. Please.
He might be lying there, bleeding to death, and the world itself does hang in the balance, so the man's still not going to budge until you say please. But where is her sister? Kicking all the asses and taking all the names, becoming the Grand Master of her non-specific fighting school. This despite the fact that she, even now, is less than sociable with just about everyone else there.
Sonja, you must learn to like men a little better. They are not all evil.
Hashtag not all. Not to mention your tragic backstory about your family being slaughtered and unwanted sexual advances. I was a queen doing that shit, making your specific mistrust of men all the more confusing. Either way, her reward for being the biggest badass in the business is her pick of any blade she wants. This is of course peppered with the weird disembodied voice guiding her to a specific sword, but no real concrete explanation ever as to why, as it's effectively just a decent sword for her for the rest of the movie. Also, her mistrust of men is completely selective, as when Schwarzenegger rides in demanding to see her, she doesn't hesitate at all to saddle up and follow the stranger to where her sister is allegedly dying. I mean, he was telling the truth, but you'd think she'd at least ask some questions before heeding to his beck and call.
The talisman stolen. All the priests massacred. We fought.
Rest, Vanna. Later we can talk.
I mean, calm down, sis. It's not the end of the world. Simple joke, I know, but the only other thing that really fits is... Fortunately, Varna points out the problem with the world ending, and that she believes that only Sonja can save it. When it comes to specifics as to exactly who took the talisman or which direction Sonja should go, though, Varna just fucking dies. So good luck, bitch! Don't worry, though. Schwarzenegger is here to help. Except Sonja just remembered she doesn't trust men.
Who are you, anyway?
My name is Kalidor.
See? Not Conan. Though there are some fan theories out there that say that Kalidor is just another name that Conan goes by when he's feeling a little extra adventurous that day. Why? Don't do that. This is bad enough. It doesn't need to be worse. No matter the case, Sonja turns her nose up at the full-price artificial Conan's offer to help, but of course, after barbecuing her sister, she does kinda need to know what the hell to do. So she asks not Conan where the mysterious giant storm is, and he points out that's where the great city of Toplok is. It's all she needs to know to get right back to telling him to get the hell away from her, and she's off to Toplok, which is currently the home of two characters, Prince Tarn, played by a ridiculously young Ernie Reyes Jr., who you might know better from Surf Ninjas or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and his subordinate Falcon, played by Paul Smith. They're in a humorously precarious situation in their destroyed city up until Sonja shows up and saves the both of them.
Well, reward her, fool!
And people wonder why gamers prefer XP for quest rewards. Noting how his city is absolutely fucked, she returns the coin, citing that he needs it more than she does. Obviously, Tarn responds to this with posturing and complaints, solidifying that he's the annoying fuck character. He also mentions that his kingdom was destroyed by Queen Gedrin, which tells Sonja she's on the right track.
Where can I find her, this Queen Gedrin?
In Berkebane, the land of eternal night.
Seems like a pretty fucking stupid place to bring an ancient magical superweapon that's powered by solar energy. The quickest route to these Shadowlands is through Breitag's toll road, so off Sonja goes that way. For some reason, she seems surprised that she can't just waltz through a toll road, and this Breitag guy, played by Pat Roach, expects something from her if he's going to allow her to pass.
Pay me tribute.
How much, Breitag?
Who mentioned money? Tribute, I said. The tender kind all women pay to bright egg.
So, chicken nuggets? Obviously he means some screwing, but Sonja has no time to fuck around. Therefore she changes the deal that if she kills him, they'll let her pass. Everyone agrees and it's on to the fight. Eventually, first they have to chat and establish more about how dry her line deliveries are, then they can swing their swords around. Fortunately, the action isn't too bad, as both of them move around quite a bit, though Brightag certainly takes more hits than Sonja. Though it would have been bad if after all that training she got in her first real fight and Brightag just fucking kicked her ass. I mean, it'd be like all that Ghost Babe XP was for nothing. Problem is, even though Brightag's servants agreed to let her go, for some reason, they're not happy she killed their master.
Yeah! Well done, Sonja!
But don't worry about her having to fight off more scary bad guys. Conan showed up to save her! Yay. So Grandmaster level combatant with Ghost Babe superpowers doesn't have to prove herself anymore. Schwarzenegger will swoop up to fight the servants, including Sven Ole Thorsen, once again, and provide her cover while she runs for the hills. Or the forest. It's a pretty jarring transition regardless. Also, we find out despite her heading out first along the shortest route, somehow the prince has made it out way ahead of her, and was here long enough that a group of bandits learned just how fucking annoying he is, and decided to torture him! Also, something about money, but seriously, fuck this guy. But Sonja rushes in to save him. Woohoo! She, Falcon, and Prince Tarn all work together to fight off the bandits, her with her sword, Falcon with his obviously plastic bone prop with a line from the shoddy molding that looks like it was taken from a spare caveman costume, and Tarn with his ninja powers. Aside from establishing these are recurring characters who are still alive and Tarn's still a dick, this doesn't really go anywhere, so let's move on to the Evil Queen's castle. Seems she intends to power up the light-powered talisman without the sun by utilizing the awesome power of candles!
Perhaps fewer candles would be advisable, Your Majesty.
Why?
Fire hazard, maybe. That amount of candles will make anyone with long hair think twice. Icall, played by Ronald Lacey, knows of the power of the talisman to destroy, well, everything, and thinks this many candles might make it a wee bit dangerous. Caution is not the Evil Queen way, though, and these concerns are ignored. Besides, news comes that there are enemies approaching, so let's fire up the handy-dandy alchemy-powered fantasy television to get a closer look, shall we? But it looks like someone forgot to clear their browsing history. Once the alchemist finally manages to change the channel, Queen Gedren gets a fine view of the Red Sonja instant cassette, seeing that the woman she left for dead is indeed not dead, but coming soon to a castle near you.
We'll wait till they get a little closer.
That's no reason to actually do anything about it. Fuck it, we're bad guys, we're not supposed to be good at planning. And yes, Sonja has now joined forces with Tarn the Inexcusable, because surely child rulers who want to build an army to defeat an evil queen should always do so by ignoring the army building step and just going straight at her army with just the three of you. At least it gives Sonja someone to talk to while traversing the terrors of tapestry. And lest we forget those activities young men like to engage in alone at night.
Take that, ruffian.
All things considered, I'm surprised he doesn't just order Falcon to take care of this sword practice as well. Of course, he makes so much noise it gets the attention of Sonja, who decides if he's this enthusiastic about his blade, he can practice on her.
You're meant to be using your sword, remember?
Sure, but some people like incorporating feet too, I don't judge. This scene tries to make some strides towards Tarn learning to respect others and not being an annoying as piss thorn in the ass, but honestly the only change I really see in his behavior is he knows how to fight better. He still treats Falcon like dirt. And Gedren is still just sitting around watching shit and doing nothing. Fucking addicted to reality TV. She finally decides to have some effect on the events, though, ordering her subordinates to sick the machine on them. But try and be careful with Sonja. Gotta keep her unwilling lesbianic love interest in one piece, after all. Thus, utilizing the talisman's power over the weather, she sends the party into a nice trap, one that Sonja can already sense.
Something drove us in here. Every bit of the way.
I noticed it, but I'm not complaining.
Sometimes the Dungeon Master gotta do shit like that. It's hard to run a module when the player characters spend 3 sessions in a row wasting all their gold in the brothel. It seems, however, Tarn ran down into the caverns below, which means Falcon has to go find out what he's up to. As it turns out, amidst the flooding and creepy architecture, he found a massive pearl that he believes is valuable enough to rebuild his kingdom.
Could be fake.
Oh, it's supposed to look like plastic, gotcha. They take so long trying to procure the gemstone, Sonja loses her patience and comes down looking for them. Ignoring her warnings about the water level rising, Falcon finally dislodges the pearl, only to find out it was a trap! Now the water begins cascading down the walls around them, and a monster has appeared from within its depths. And it looks like the sumbitch has one hell of a natural armor class. Despite it seeming nigh indestructible, Tarn launches himself at the monster once more, meaning everyone who isn't a complete moron has to dive back in to rescue the dumbass before it rips him in two. Eventually the kid is saved, but this just means Sonja still is in the water, alone with the beast. But don't worry, Schwarzenegger has swooped in to save the day. Eventually, he's got to still figure out what's going on. He fast-traveled here, after all. After figuring out there's an invulnerable water beast smacking the crap out of Sonja, he dives in to save the day. Or have a swim. Unsurprisingly, he's not having any more luck against this creature than anyone else thus far, just holding on and smacking it while it roars and drags his ass around the water.
I can't kill it, it's a machine!
Oh, so it's supposed to look like a puppet, gotcha. As luck would have it, robotics are actually quite advanced in the Hyberian Age, and Conan over here can work with Sonja to rip its fucking eyes out, allowing them to easily escape Mecha Helen Keller. Schwarzenegger did get injured in this little stunt, though, and this downtime is all we need to learn that Kalidor is in fact the High Lord, and it's his duty to see the talisman be destroyed. Sonja apologizes for misinterpreting his stalking as some kind of sexual advance, to which he responds with sexual advances, but Sonja's not having it.
No man may have me, unless he has beaten me in a fair fight.
So if someone wants to do you, they first gotta beat the crap out of you until you submit. Pretty sure there's a word for that. Arnold doesn't mind though, and presents her weapon as an invitation to get hot and sweaty. So we have a rather peculiar fight scene, one punctuated with romantic music with characters who are not trying to kill each other, and doing their best not to hurt each other, fighting, and really having the longest damn sword fight of the movie, until the both of them are completely drained of energy. So, about that sex? Maybe later. Either way, they defeated the whole one obstacle that Gedron sent their way, and easily reached the evil Queen's Dark Castle Fortress. Sonja, Conan, Falcon, and the Fresh Prince. Not wanting the Tyke to get into too much trouble, he's tasked with watching the door, and given Falcon's spare fun-size bone club, in case his falchion is just too effective. In the meantime, Icall is defecting, because world domination loses a lot of its appeal when it results in Armageddon. It won't if our heroes have anything to say about it, though, sneaking into the castle and killing the fuck out of all who stand in their way.
We must find the talisman. Only I can touch it, remember.
We're approaching the climax, but we gotta remind the audience of this little detail to prevent Schwarzenegger from just bum-rushing the Queen and completing the quest. With that, they split up and rush forth to kill various nameless goons. The named one, though, tries to sneak out the door with a big sack of gold coins, like that'll be of any use after the world is destroyed, but the prince is here to stop him in his tracks. Thanks to all that one-on-one time with Sonja, he's much more confident when it comes to dealing with Icall. Not that the bad guy is much of a threat, honestly. He fucking dove in the doorway and waited like he's trying to commit insurance fraud. On a steamroller, but like I said, bad guys aren't the best at planning. Now that he's been crushed like a tube of toothpaste, the prince does the logical thing and marches into the Dark Evil Castle he wasn't supposed to enter in the first place, waltzing right over to the throne room and into a trap, being captured by Gedron.
Gedron! Where are you?
And I thought Conan made some weird faces in these movies. Considering Gedron's just down the hall, Sonja has no problem catching up with her. Also, it turns out all you need is for the Earth to start breaking in half for Prince Tarn to be easily able to escape the evil Queen's grasp. Now they can have their shouty talk where the Queen wants Sonja, but Sonja wants revenge for the whole slaughtering her family thing.
What were their lives compared to this?
Was this whole movie written with someone's idea to take the term drama queen as literally as possible? So the fight is on, and Sonja runs into a curveball or two when she finds out that Gedren has the power of jump cuts on her side, as well as a spare gimp she keeps just off screen in case she ever needed one. Once Sonja realizes the spotty editing is a work of the alchemist, it doesn't take long for her to relieve him of his cranium and put the two women on an even field once again. Or as even as can be expected with the whole world crumbling to bits around them. So while people tend to associate the falling shot or going into a lava or a smelting pit as a trope of the 90s, this movie has that beat by half a decade. The convenient lava flow naturally makes the perfect means to destroy the talisman. Ignoring the natural glow of lava, meaning it makes no sense that the thing no longer has access to light, but screw it, the stuff will harden eventually. For now, though, the castle is slowly exploding, and everyone working together, but mostly relying on Schwarzenegger, they manage to escape. Therefore, happy ending! Gedren is dead, the talisman has been destroyed, and the world has not. However, there's that one last thing to do before they hit the road. Each other.
I make it a rule never to take a woman, unless you can beat me in a fair fight.
That's a challenge I might think about someday.
Wait a minute, that means if she beats you, then you didn't beat her, and therefore no sex. But if you beat her, then... Yeah, this is a terrible criteria for a relationship. Fucking ignore the fight, just start kissing. The end! And it's kind of sad they went the whole movie without even one chainmail bikini, but... Anyway, that was Red Sonja. And here's a reason there's no Red Sonja 2. As far as fantasy adventure movies go, this one is pretty dang basic. There's not all that much that goes into characterization for Sonja, so the bulk of time is spent on the big epic quest. The problem with that is it amounts to follow the glowing ball of death, kill all occupants, and leave. No real twists or all that much character growth to help it beyond that. Still, a simple movie can be a good one if what it sets out to do it does well. However, Red Sonja has some major issues here as well. The setting works well enough, it looks even less convincing than Conan the Destroyer, but you half expect that in this genre anyway. However, the acting is where everything falls apart. Brigitte Nielsen's performance as Sonja is dry, awkward, and occasionally it sounds like she's trying to remember her lines. I'm not sure if this is a knock on her entirely, though, or if there just weren't that many takes, considering somehow Arnold also sounds very amateur and awkward throughout the movie. We all know he's got acting chops, so my money's on a rough and fast filming style without too much consideration for quality. Finally, the adventure itself is pretty dull. There's not much in terms of interesting locations, and what we do get doesn't help. They visit a big city post-destruction, so all we get are two more supporting characters. They find a bridge made of bone, which could easily be edited out of the movie as it does so little to add anything. What we end up with at the end of the day is one long walk to the evil queen's lair before things even begin to get interesting. Overall, Red Sonja is a bad movie. Its pacing goes from lightning quick to almost still in the first 10 minutes, most of the characters aren't interesting, some are downright annoying, and I found it hard to even care that the world was going to end. Still, it's so bad that us fans of bad movies may extract some entertainment from the unintentional humor in some scenes. Nevertheless, Red Sonja comes in at 2 angry aquatic automatons out of 5. It's not great, but come on, I've seen worse. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, it's not gay if the balls don't touch.